If my family were a dinner table, I wouldn't have a seat. I'd be the folding chair in the hallway, brought out when convenient, then shoved back into storage when they're done pretending I'm part of things. That sounds bitter. It is. But you start seeing things clearly after years of being the extra, the one who's either setting up chairs, fixing outlets, or driving 3 hours to celebrate someone else, while everyone forgets your birthday falls the same week. My name's Drew. I'm 29, live alone in a modest apartment above my workshop, and run a small but reliable repair business. I'm the guy you call when the faucet won't stop leaking or the breaker won't reset, but I'm not the guy my family calls when they're planning celebrations. Not anymore. The golden child is Melanie, my younger sister by 2 years, though you'd think she emerged from the womb with a tiara and a backup Instagram account. If Melanie even whispers the word engaged, my mom starts shopping for venues before the ring's out of the box. Me? I once brought a girlfriend to Thanksgiving and my mom asked if I hired her off Craigslist. So yeah? You could say there's history. It was a Wednesday afternoon, and I was halfway under a kitchen sink trying to coax an old disposal into retirement when my phone buzzed in my pocket. "Hi, sweetheart," Mom said, all chipper. "Hey," I muttered, one arm still deep in plumbing and regret. "Just wanted to let you know we're doing something small for Melanie and Bryce this weekend. A casual dinner. Nothing big." I blinked. "Okay, am I invited?" "Oh, it's just a quick thing. Immediate family." Immediate family? Right. The people I've shared 29 Christmases with. The woman whose garage I rewired last summer for free. The dad whose fence I rebuilt after a storm without charging a dime. That kind of immediate? Got it, I said. "We didn't think you'd be interested, with work and all," she added quickly, like that helped. "Right. Plumbing stuff. Busy being the help." She laughed awkwardly. "Don't be silly. It's just a dinner." "Sure. Enjoy. Love you." Click. I didn't say it back. That night I didn't stew. Didn't text anyone. I microwaved some leftover pasta, plopped down on the futon, and started scrolling. Flights. Hotels. Coastal getaways. If I wasn't invited to the big family table, fine. I'd take myself somewhere with actual good views and no passive-aggressive seating arrangements. I booked a weekend trip to a quiet beach town about 3 hours away. Mid-range hotel, ocean view, continental breakfast. Nothing flashy. Just me, salt air, and 0 group chats. It wasn't a tantrum. It was self-respect. I didn't tell them I was going. No snarky texts. No. "Have fun without me," digs. I just zipped up a duffel bag with 2 t-shirts, a hoodie, some swim trunks, and the good sandals I save for rare occasions when I treat myself like I matter. Saturday morning, I left before sunrise. As the city faded behind me and the sky warmed from steel to gold, I realized something. I wasn't mad. Not really. I was just done. Done trying to earn a seat at a table where my chair was always slightly out of reach. Done playing the role of the quiet, reliable one who doesn't complain. They called it just a small dinner. Cool. Let them have it. I had something better: silence, space, and shrimp tacos waiting at the end of a highway with no detours. The ocean was already busy by the time I parked. Families hauling umbrellas, kids chasing seagulls, couples holding iced coffees like trophies. I checked into the hotel, dropped my bag, and stepped out onto the balcony. Waves. Clean air. No backhanded compliments. I pulled out a chair and sat down, letting the salt wind undo a week's worth of irritation. The beach wasn't anything fancy, just one of those semi-forgotten stretches of coastline where the sunscreen always smells like childhood and nobody's trying to go viral. Which was perfect. Down below, a dad was trying to put up one of those impossible pop-up tents while his toddler cheered him on by throwing sand at his legs. I grinned. That guy was having a worse Saturday than me, and he was invited to the party. Around noon, I wandered down to the boardwalk. Found a little food shack with surfboards nailed to the wall and handwritten menus that looked like they'd survived hurricanes. I ordered a shrimp po' boy, sat at a weathered picnic table, and pulled out my phone. No missed calls. No texts. It was funny how silence could feel louder than noise. Not that I wanted them to reach out, I just noticed they didn't. Not even a, "Hope you're doing okay," or a, "Wish you could have come." I opened Instagram. Melanie had posted a picture, her in a white flowy dress, Bryce behind her in a linen shirt trying to look natural, which meant he looked constipated. The caption read, "Engaged to the love of my life, ring sparkles, surrounded by the best family ever." Cool. I guess best family didn't include the guy who used to carry her upstairs when she fell asleep in the car as a kid. Or the guy who fixed her headboard when it broke during a bad breakup and pretended not to notice the tears soaking through the pillow. Nope. I was the not immediate one now. The extra. I locked my phone and slid it face down. Not doing this. Not here. Back at the hotel, I changed into swim trunks and headed to the water. I waited out until the cold punched me in the chest and then dove in all the way. Salt water in the nose. Freedom in the lungs. Floating there, arms wide, I stared up at the sky and thought, This is better than pretending to belong. It wasn't that I hated my family. I didn't even think they were evil. They just had a selective memory. One that filtered out every time I showed up, helped out, stayed quiet, and smiled through it all. One that edited me out like I was bad lighting in a family photo. And I guess I let them do it for too long. That night, I walked to a little seafood bar with twinkly lights and a guy playing acoustic guitar in the corner. I ordered fish tacos and a local beer and sat alone, watching the sky melt into stars. The couple next to me was celebrating something, maybe an anniversary, maybe just surviving a Tuesday. They clinked glasses and whispered things I couldn't hear. I didn't envy them. I just noticed. Then I spotted an older woman across the patio, alone like me. She raised her glass and smiled when our eyes met. We didn't speak, just nodded, a kind of silent toast between strangers who'd both chosen solitude over something messier. And for the first time in a while, I didn't feel like a loner. I felt like someone who made a choice. Who chose peace over pretending. I went back to the hotel, pulled the covers up to my chin, and let the sound of waves drown out whatever was happening at that small dinner. Whatever was going on back home. It could wait. The morning started slow. Ocean breeze. Bad hotel coffee. Salt still clinging to my skin from the night before. I opened the balcony door just wide enough to hear the waves again, steady, rhythmic, like a reminder that the world doesn't revolve around family dinners you're not invited to. I wasn't in a rush. That's the thing about disappearing, it doesn't require fanfare. Just a decision to stop showing up where you're not wanted. I threw on a wrinkled t-shirt, slipped into my good sandals, and headed down to the beach. It was already buzzing, surfers wiping out, kids making sandcastles too close to the tide, and couples arguing over sunscreen. Somehow, it was the kind of chaos that felt peaceful. No passive-aggressive digs, no last-minute demands to fix a faucet while I'm already there. Around mid-morning, I wandered up toward the boardwalk. One of those charmingly run-down spots that smelled like grilled pineapple, old wood, and vaguely like someone had just lost a corn dog. I walked by a guy selling hand-painted skateboards, another guy trying to guess people's weight for $5, and a third just aggressively offering hugs. I ended up at a little outdoor market tucked between a souvenir shack and a place selling $18 smoothies. Handmade shell necklaces, driftwood carvings, tie-dye shirts that hadn't been cool since 2006. I wasn't planning to buy anything, but I spotted a small keychain shaped like a wave, worn metal, smooth edges, fit perfectly in my palm. I bought it. Don't know why. Just did. As I was waiting for the vendor to count change, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't rush to check. Honestly, I almost forgot it existed this weekend. But when I pulled it out, the name on the screen made my eyebrows rise. Melanie. One message. Short. No emoji. No punctuation. Just, "Why didn't you pick up?" You always do. I stood there in the sun, the keychain warm in my hand, just staring at those words. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even passive-aggressive. It was hollow. Like she expected something to fall into place and it didn't, and now the world didn't make sense. You always do. She was right. I always picked up. When Bryce lost his job and wanted advice, I picked up. When Melanie wanted help moving apartments for the 6th time, I picked up. When our dad needed someone to reset the Wi-Fi or check the water heater, I picked up. Always the same script. This was the first time I hadn't. I didn't reply. Just locked the screen and kept walking. Back on the beach, I kicked off my sandals and let the water reach my ankles. There were families playing frisbee and dogs who clearly didn't care about leash laws. I stood still, eyes on the horizon, letting the ocean blur everything else. The air was thick with salt and sunscreen and the kind of warmth that comes from doing absolutely nothing for once, and not feeling guilty about it. Somewhere back home, they were probably washing champagne flutes and packing up leftover cake. Maybe Mom was scrolling through photos, maybe Dad was pretending he didn't cry during the toast. Maybe Melanie was showing off her ring to an audience who had no idea who installed the living room dimmers for that engagement night vibe. That would be me. Not invited, but still doing the labor in the background. That was the pattern. Always had been. I stopped at a taco stand on my way back to the hotel. A couple was arguing over guacamole portions, and it made me laugh out loud for no reason. I grabbed 2 shrimp tacos and sat on a wooden bench looking out at the water. My phone buzzed once more, but this time I didn't check it. I let it vibrate against the wood and fall silent. That night, I sat under the string lights of the same seafood bar I'd eaten at the day before. Familiar music played. The same guy on the guitar, same slightly overcooked fish tacos, and the same silence, but this time, it felt heavier. Not because I missed them, but because they were starting to notice I didn't. Sunday started like the perfect ending to a weekend of not caring. I slept in, stretched so hard my spine popped like bubble wrap, and shuffled over to the sliding balcony door barefoot. Ocean breeze, warm sunlight, the distant scream of a toddler losing a battle with sunscreen. Perfection. I had no plans except finding breakfast and maybe a piña colada. I didn't need to justify to anyone. Then I checked my phone. 4 missed calls. 1 voicemail. All from Mom. The timestamps? The first one hit at 2:17 a.m. Now, I'm no detective, but I've seen enough late-night drama to know 2 a.m. Calls never mean. Just wanted to say I love you. I didn't hit play. Not yet. I set the phone down like it might explode and walked to the hotel coffee station. Poured myself a fresh cup of whatever dark liquid they were calling Sumatra Rose. Then sat on the balcony to let the sun do its therapy thing. Waves crashing. People laughing below. Birds screaming like they paid rent. All normal. Except for that blinking voicemail icon. Eventually, I gave in. Press play. Hey. Drew. It's me. Your mom. Well, that narrowed it down. I don't know if you're busy or if you're ignoring us. But something happened. Pause. Background chatter. A man's voice muttering something unintelligible. She was somewhere loud. Your sister's really upset. It wasn't supposed to go like this. Nobody expected. Another pause. The long kind, where you can hear someone choosing words that won't make it worse. Just call me, okay? Please. Click. That was it. Not a clue what actually happened, just enough breadcrumbs to ruin the morning and make my coffee taste like suspicion. I sat in silence for a while, just listening to the ocean and watching a sandpiper judge me from a railing. Eventually, I opened the family group chat. Melanie had renamed it Melmo's Big Night Party Popper Ring Party Popper a week ago. Now it looked more like a live crime scene transcript. Uncle Ron. Has anyone heard from Bryce? Aunt Kathy. Still shocked that happened in front of Grandma. Melanie. I cannot believe this. What is wrong with him? Dad. Let's keep this respectful. And private. Sure, Dad. Totally private. Just you, your wife, your daughter, and 10 other relatives who can't keep a secret if you stapled it to their foreheads. Cousin Layla. I'm still shaking. I thought he was joking. Bryce's brother. Drew would have handled this way better. Just saying. Excuse me? Why was I being name-dropped? I kept scrolling. Aunt Lisa. Should we call Drew? Mom. He's not answering. Melanie. He never answers when you actually need him. Oh, now you need me? Right. Then I saw a new message pop in, from Grandma of all people. I hope you're okay, sweetheart. Proud of you for staying out of it. I stared at that for a long moment. Grandma wasn't one for drama. If she was texting me directly, something went seriously sideways. I locked the phone. The screen went dark, reflecting my face back at me, salt-bleached, sun-kissed, and officially not involved. And it felt good. I walked the beach again, let the cold waves numb my ankles, and watched a group of teenagers try to bury one of their friends in sand. His head was sticking out, grinning like an idiot. That guy? That guy didn't have family drama today. I was halfway through a fish taco on a boardwalk bench when Melanie tried calling me directly. For the first time in over 6 months. I declined. Without guilt. Back at the hotel, I stood on the balcony one more time and let the night wind hit my face. Something had definitely gone down at that party. Something ugly. And for once, I didn't have to clean it up. By the time the sun dipped behind the water, casting everything in that golden pink filter that made even trash bins look romantic, I was back on the hotel balcony, sipping my second soda of the evening like it was aged scotch. I had no plans, no obligations, and thanks to hotel Wi-Fi, front row access to whatever meltdown was unraveling back home. It started with one new notification in the group chat. A blurry video. 3 seconds long. Captioned only. Bryce. You idiot. I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the screen like I was defusing a bomb. Then, curiosity won. I hit play. Chaos. The video opened mid-shout. Melanie's voice, shrill and full volume. Say it to my face, Bryce. Is it true? Someone knocked over a glass. A plate shattered. A very distressed relative screamed. That's my casserole! In the far background, Bryce's voice cracked out a pathetic. It wasn't like that! And then the clip cut off. 3 seconds. That's all. But those 3 seconds said more than any dinner invitation ever could. Before I could process what I just watched, the group chat exploded like someone had thrown a grenade into the center of the buffet table. Aunt Lisa. I knew something was off. His jawline screamed cheater. Uncle Ron. Why was there even a second woman involved? What kind of Netflix nonsense? Cousin Jared. Yo. Mel went full WWE on that centerpiece. I think someone cried. Layla. Grandma's eye twitched. That's when I knew it was over. Bryce's brother. Drew wouldn't have let this happen. Should have invited him instead of this clown. And then, from Melanie herself. How could you not tell me you were still talking to your ex? I found her commenting on our photos. You absolute goblin. Not gonna lie, I reread that one twice. Goblin. Was a bold insult. But somehow, accurate. I scrolled and scrolled, the messages coming in faster than I could read. Mom tried to calm the storm with a desperate. Let's not fight. We're still a family. Which cousin Derek immediately followed with. Not after Bryce used the proposal cake as a shield. Man dipped behind fondant like it was bulletproof. I laughed out loud. Alone. On the balcony. Like a lunatic. And it felt amazing. For once, I wasn't the one cleaning up emotional spills. I wasn't the middleman, the peacemaker, or the ignored helper with a wrench in one hand and a forced smile on his face. I was just a guy at the beach, watching a disaster from a safe and sandy distance. Then, as if the drama gods weren't done blessing me, I got a private message from Melanie. I shouldn't have said you weren't real family. That was wrong. Pause. You're the only one who's ever actually shown up when it mattered. Even when you didn't have to. I stared at that for a long minute. Because the truth was, I had shown up. For years. For birthdays I wasn't celebrated at. For house projects I was never thanked for. For errands, emergencies, emotional breakdowns. Quiet support. Silent fixes. But not this time. This time, I chose peace. I chose distance. And somehow, that made me more visible than ever. I dropped my phone onto the bed and walked barefoot out to the beach, letting the tide nip at my ankles. Overhead, stars were beginning to poke through the dusk like they were checking if it was safe to come out. And somewhere hundreds of miles away, my family was finally being forced to face a mess they couldn't pin on me. A mess I didn't cause. A mess I didn't have to clean. When I got back to my room, the group chat had been renamed. From Melmo's Big Night Party Popper Ring Party Popper to Family First Red Heart. Of course it was. And underneath that, the call log. 12 missed calls. 3 voicemails. Yeah. That tracks. I turned my phone on silent, plugged it in, and left it face down on the nightstand. The waves were loud tonight. But the silence from me? Even louder. I woke up to my phone buzzing like it was trying to escape the nightstand. 21 missed calls. 4 voicemails. A dozen new texts. It was like everyone suddenly remembered I had a number, and apparently, boundaries. I didn't check anything right away. I just laid there, listening to the ocean outside the window, the distant thud of someone slamming a hotel door, and the faint squawk of a seagull absolutely losing its mind over a chip. It was peaceful. And honestly, I wasn't ready to give that up. Eventually, I cracked. First up, Mom. Drew, please call me. I don't know what else to say. Then another. We miss you. I know we've made mistakes. But this family needs you right now. Oh, now it needs me? The same family that forgot I existed when it came time to plan the big night? The same people who once called me too quiet to notice at a family dinner, then asked me to take out the trash 10 minutes later? Right. Then came the one from Melanie. I was wrong. I said things I didn't mean. You've always been the one who's there when it counts. I read it twice. And yeah, it stung a little. Not because she was apologizing, but because part of me wanted to believe she meant it. But then I remembered, the only reason I wasn't there this time was because they never even gave me the chance. Bryce was the last to show up in my inbox. Of course. Hey man. Look, stuff got blown out of proportion. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Just got complicated. Oh, we're doing the it's complicated routine? Like this was a Facebook status and not a full-blown double proposal scandal? I know I messed up. I just wish you were there. It wouldn't have gone so bad if you were. Yeah, probably because I'd have been the one calmly shoving napkins into Grandma's lap while Melanie threw her engagement ring like a ninja star. But I wasn't there. And for once, it wasn't my job to put out the fire. I left the phone face down and went outside. The beach was still cool, the sand packed and damp from the early morning tide. I passed a group of kids trying to build a sandcastle that looked more like a potato, their mom half watching with one hand on a coffee and the other scrolling Instagram. A few yards away, an older couple sat on folding chairs. They weren't talking, just sitting, silently facing the waves, side by side. I don't know why, but that image stuck with me. Sometimes, the quiet is the connection. Not the noise. Not the chaos. Back in the hotel room, I finally listened to one voicemail. It was Mom again. Her voice was soft. Cautious. Almost like she wasn't sure I'd even hear it. I know we hurt you. And I'm not going to pretend we didn't. I didn't think you'd really stay away. She paused. I guess I got used to you always forgiving us. Another pause. Longer this time. You could hear people talking behind her, probably still sweeping up pieces of Bryce's dignity from the floor. You didn't deserve to be left out. And I'm sorry. I mean that. Click. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. It was a good apology. But I was tired of apologies that came after the damage, when I wasn't useful anymore. Aunt Lisa texted me next. You always hold everyone together. We didn't realize how much until you weren't there. Translation: we took you for granted until the glue melted. Then one from Cousin Jared. Grandma says she wants to see you. And she said, and I quote, at least Drew's not the one who brought the floozy. Charming, Grandma. But noted. I spent the evening on the balcony with a basket of garlic shrimp and a soda in a glass shaped like a coconut. It was kitschy, overpriced, and possibly the best drink I've ever had. The messages kept coming. Apologies. Excuses. One suspicious. Are you mad at me? From a cousin who once told me I was the background character of the family. I didn't answer any of them. Because silence, it turns out, is louder than any clapback. And right now, it was speaking fluently. I drove home midweek. No fanfare. No countdown in the family chat. I didn't tell anyone I was coming back, because honestly, it wasn't for them. I had bills to check, laundry to do, and a workshop that probably missed me more than any blood relative ever had. Besides, I needed the break to end on my terms. The beach had cleared my head in a way nothing else ever had. And as I watched the exit sign for my hometown slide past the windshield, I knew something had shifted, not just around me, but in me. This time, I wasn't walking back into the same role. And I wasn't taking requests. Within 30 minutes of being home, Mom somehow knew. I don't know if she had a tracker installed in my spine or if someone saw me at the gas station, but my phone buzzed before I'd even unlocked my apartment. Are you back? Can we talk? I stared at the message. Then checked the timestamp. 8:09 a.m. She didn't even give me time to grab groceries. That afternoon, I got another one. From Melanie. Can we meet for coffee or something? I just want to clear the air. The air doesn't clear when people keep blowing smoke. But I agreed. Not because I owed them anything, but because I didn't want it hanging over me like a mildew-scented shower curtain. We met at a local cafe. The kind that sells coffee strong enough to dissolve furniture. Melanie was already there, sitting by the window, fidgeting with her phone case. She looked different. Not in the hair or outfit way, more like someone whose confidence had been scraped raw. Hey, she said when I sat down. I nodded. She waited. Then, so, I guess you know everything now. More than I wanted to, I said, sipping my coffee. It tasted like scorched bark. Perfect. She gave a dry laugh, then looked down. I really messed up. I didn't jump in. I just waited. I should have invited you. You've always shown up for me, and I just took that for granted. There it was. The line I'd always wanted to hear. But it didn't feel like a prize. It felt like confirmation that I'd let too much slide for too long. I leaned forward. You didn't just forget. You excluded me. You made a choice. Melanie's eyes welled. She nodded. I know. And I hate that I didn't realize how much I leaned on you until you weren't there. She paused, took a breath. The whole dinner blew up. Bryce was exposed, Grandma nearly choked on a cherry tomato, and Aunt Kathy swore off family events forever. I raised an eyebrow. So, a normal Tuesday. She gave a real laugh this time. Yeah. But without you, it felt worse. There it was again, that quiet expectation that I'd return to my role as emotional janitor. I smiled politely. I'm glad you're okay. But I didn't come back to be part of that. Her smile froze. I continued. I've got my own life. My own peace. And I'm not trading it in just because the house caught fire while I was gone. She swallowed, nodded slowly. Then she said something I didn't expect. I get it. I really do. I don't blame you. I just hope, one day you'll still be around. When I left the cafe, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. For the first time in my life, I'd said what I needed to say, and didn't rush to make anyone else feel better. No emotional cleanup. No guilt-tripping myself. No fake closure. Just truth. Calm, clean, and unshakable. That night I sat in my workshop. Just me, the hum of tools, and a project I'd been ignoring for weeks. I put on music, rolled up my sleeves, and got to work. Because while my family was still scrambling to figure out what I meant to them, I already knew what I meant to myself. Drew's not angry. He's not out for revenge. But his actions now speak louder than any of their apologies. Maybe it's a big moment he doesn't invite them to. Maybe it's a public recognition they weren't expecting. Whatever it is, they'll realize they're not part of his life anymore. Not because he pushed them out, but because they walked out first. Here comes part 8, the final part. Part 8, the view's better from here. A week passed. I didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't check the group chat. They renamed it again, by the way, from Family First Red Heart to Rebuilding Together Folded Hands. Like slapping a motivational poster on a cracked foundation would make the walls stop leaking. I didn't bother leaving. I was back at work, back in rhythm, the kind you only earn when no one hands you shortcuts. My shop was running smoother than ever. I had a small team now. Good people. People who showed up because they wanted to, not because guilt dragged them in. One of my clients, a property manager, pulled me aside after a job and said, "You ever think about expansion? You're the most requested guy in 3 counties. That sat with me. Not because I needed praise, but because somewhere between being excluded from engagement parties and ignored at holidays, I built something they couldn't take away. I wasn't just enough. I was more than they ever expected. That weekend, the city held its annual Community Awards banquet. Small town stuff, fold-out chairs, overcooked pasta, a man named Larry playing acoustic covers of 2000s pop songs. But they gave me something. A plaque. In recognition of outstanding local service and entrepreneurship. Simple. Clean. I didn't tell my family I was going. I didn't need them there. But they showed up. I saw them the second I stepped onto the stage. Back row. Trying to blend in like tourists at a school play. Mom clutched her purse with both hands. Melanie looked like she'd swallowed her apology all over again. Dad nodded once, like this counted as effort. And me? I smiled. Calmly. Took the plaque. Shook the mayor's hand. Thanked the crowd. Sat back down next to my foreman, who whispered, "You didn't tell me they'd be here." I whispered back. Neither did I. After the event, Melanie approached me in the hallway. Alone. "That was a big deal," she said. "You deserved it." "Thanks," I said, pocketing my phone. She looked like she wanted to say more. But I didn't make it easier. She cleared her throat. "I hope someday we can be close again." I gave her a polite nod. Maybe. But in my head, I already knew. I had a new definition of close. And it didn't include people who only saw my value once it became undeniable. That night, I posted a photo of the plaque. Caption. Turns out, sitting at the kids' table doesn't stop you from building your own. The likes came fast. So did the messages. None from my family. Not right away. Until 2 hours later. "Mom, we're proud of you." I didn't respond. She already knew. Because from where I was standing now, I finally had a seat at the table. And this time, I built it myself.